Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Spinal Hygiene. Well, technically, we titled this "The Science of Spinal Hygiene" training or webinar, and I'm Dr. Tabor Smith. If you don't know me already, but man, it's been a busy day. I hope you've had a busy day. I just got home from practice, literally 15 minutes ago, and just finished a full day. Let me tell you about the day. Like that's what this training is going to be live. It's going to be real. I don't even have PowerPoints for you. I have some images that I want to show you here in just a second. I have some downloads for you and something I want to give you for being on here. But look, this is how real this training is tonight, is that I'm just going to go through the reason why spinal hygiene is going to be, like, it's not up to you, it's not up to me, like, I've been watching this for a while. It is going to be the next big advancement in healthcare. Like, I'm talking healthcare. Like, I hope chiropractors will see it and will grasp the importance of it and will own it, because I truly believe that it will help chiropractic rise to the next level. I think it'll explode chiropractic. But I've been seeing enough and following enough people to know that spinal hygiene will explode here in the next few years. It already is. I'm seeing it. I'm seeing the word spinal hygiene now. You might be seeing it too, not just from me. Like, I'm seeing docs post videos on it, about it. I'm seeing like common sense people talking about it. Like, I'm going to show you the science behind it tonight. But like I said, it's been a busy day this morning. I saw patients all morning. I had a lunch and learn at a community business, a corporate talk, where I think we had about 40 people in the corporate talk over lunch. I saw patients all afternoon, adjusted, had a doctor's report where we had 5 people in the doctor's report, and went over their report of findings, their care plans. We had a few start care tonight, then just got home and started this webinar. So tonight, I have some gifts for you. If you're watching in live from the page, spinalhygienedoctor.com/webinar-page, let me go ahead and make sure you can hear me here. All right, good. Yeah, that's me. All right, so we got a few people online. Thanks for being here. You'll notice there's some links below this video, and you don't have to click on them right now if you don't want to, but they should open up in a separate page for you. Number one is the spinal hygiene report. This article was published in Chiropractic Economics, this article I wrote. And a lot of you will ask tonight for a lot of the references from some of the things that I say. If you look in that report, read that report. Just do me a favor. Read that report. Now, in Chiropractic Economics, they took it, they changed a lot of the stuff, they changed the title. The title of it was and is Spinal Degeneration, the Silent Epidemic, and why chiropractors should join the spinal hygiene movement. Like, that's in that title in this report. You'll see there. They changed it to heightened awareness. Now is the time for a spinal hygiene campaign, which is fine. But this report has all a lot of the research and the bibliography, the references to a lot of the things that I'm going to share tonight. So feel free to download that report, and I ask you to actually read it and check it out and see why right now is the best time in the history of the profession of chiropractic, in the history of really healthcare, but in the profession of chiropractic, there's never been a better chance, in my opinion, to explode chiropractic with a basic common sense concept called spinal hygiene, that if you don't take care of something, it deteriorates, it degenerates. And we know this to be true in every area of health. I mean, if you don't take care of your body, you gain weight, you deteriorate, you break down. If you don't brush your teeth, they will rot. And so if we could just go back to a common sense. Now, look, I'm not saying we abort subluxation. I'm not saying that at all. In fact, it should help us become subluxation based even stronger, because look at dentistry. Dentists correct cavities. They're not ashamed of the cavity. They're not ashamed of the word cavity. They correct cavities. Chiropractors correct subluxations. Dentistry teach dental hygiene. Chiropractors should teach spinal hygiene. If you practice proper dental hygiene, it should help you to at least decrease the amount of cavities you get. If you practice proper spinal hygiene, it should help at least decrease the amount of subluxations you get. Like, this is common sense here, right? But yet nobody uses this in all of chiropractic, which blows my mind, okay? Now, I get off on little rants here, but let me get back to the reason why right now is the best time in the history of the profession for us to grab this. And I guarantee you mark my words right now, that in a few years, like, spinal hygiene will be something. And I hope it's me that brings it to the forefront. I hope it's chiropractic that grabs it. I hope, but it'll happen. Whether physical therapists bring it, whether medical doctors bring it, if chiropractors drop the ball, somebody will do it, because it's that important and it's that necessary. Let me share with you why. 96% of people 96% of people have spinal degeneration by the age of 80. Again, there's a report below this video. You can download that report. The other link below this video, it takes you to show you the spinal hygiene products that we have. I'm going to explain science behind those products, why we chose those products, why those are in my opinion, the most efficient and best way to use spinal hygiene. I'll explain that. But first, in that report, you'll see 96% of people develop spinal degeneration by the age of 80. Now, hold on. If you're like, yeah, well, that's an 80-year-old, they're going to have spinal degeneration. Just hold on and hear me out here, okay? Because now more people have spinal degeneration than any time in the history of human beings, okay? But 80% or 96% of people, almost 100% of people, have spinal degeneration by the age of 80, all right? Now, 85% of people have spinal degeneration by the age of 50. 85% of people have spinal degeneration by the age of 50. And a lot of these statistics are in that report, okay? Now, that's old age, right? Kind of, not really. 50 is not old. 80, I don't think should be old, but it is in today's standards. But even if you said that was old age, and you said, yeah, anybody from 50 to 80 will have spinal degeneration, it just happens. Now, those numbers are high. 85% by the age of 50, 96% by the age of 80. I don't care who you are, it shouldn't be that high. But now watch this. Statistics show that almost 40%, 37% to be exact, people will develop spinal degeneration in their 20s. By the age of 20, 37% of people have spinal degeneration. Is 20 years old, is that old? Let me ask you that. Is 20 old? No. So if you tell me that arthritis is caused by old age, I'm going to ask you why almost 40% of individuals in our society today are developing arthritis, spinal degeneration, degenerative disc disease, whatever you want to call it. That's the same thing, by the way. All these patients, they want to know if they have arthritis, osteoarthritis. They want to know if they have degenerative disc disease. They want to know if they have spinal degeneration. And every time they hear a different word, they're like, no, I don't have that. I have the other one, right? Those are all the same. So 40% of people have spinal degeneration by the age of 20. That is not old. In fact, the reason they have that is because, and it's been correlated, and then again, the references in that report below this video, that sedentary lifestyles correlate with increased development of spinal arthritis. Sedentary lifestyles, and watch this, on top of that, we're not only sedentary, we're in front of computers all the time. We got cell phones going on all the time. We got video games that kids are on as old as they can move their thumbs. They're on video games. They're sitting in classrooms for longer periods of time without recess, without exercise. We are degenerate. We have like a perfect storm situation for degeneration of the spine, right? We have everything necessary to degenerate our children's and our own spines as fast as possible in our society today. Now, even if you think for some reason, some crazy reason, that 40% of people should have spinal degeneration by the age of 20, which that is ridiculous. Now, there was a study released by some Scottish researchers that showed 9%, so almost 10% of 9-year-olds. Okay, they took a group of 9% of 10-year-olds. They took a group of 10-year-olds and they did MRI studies on them, and they showed 10% of 10-year-olds have spinal degeneration because of their cell phones, computers, video games, sedentary lifestyles, being overweight, all those types of things. But now almost 10% of 10-year-olds have spinal degeneration, and that, in my opinion, is ridiculous. And look, let's just use common sense. A lot of you on this line right now, you take X-rays, and I almost guarantee you, any of the chiropractors who've been practicing over a decade that have been taking X-rays consistently would agree with me that you're seeing more and more spinal degeneration on your X-rays. Every time someone comes in at younger and younger ages, we're seeing more and more spinal degeneration. So something has to be done. Something has to be done. Somebody's got to step in and show somebody how to prevent, or at least lower risk factors for spinal degeneration. Now, this was done already in dentistry. The reason why I'm using such analogies from dentistry to chiropractic is because they already had this freaking problem. It was in the early 1900s. People's teeth were just rotting out of their face. They were having dental dental caries or dental cavities were just going crazy because of the degeneration of their teeth. By the way, guys, there's a comment section below this live video. Feel free to comment, question, whatever you want to do there, and I'll make sure I get to them. So in the early 1900s, people's teeth were just rotting out, just rotting like crazy, right? So dentists, what they did, their job was to pull teeth. That's it. And they had a good job. I mean, it kept them busy because by the age of 20, your teeth were rotten and you need to pull teeth. Now look, watch this. By the age of 20, people in our society have spinal degeneration and they're candidates for spine surgery already by the age of 20. So there's going to be a lot of correlations between what happened in dentistry in the early 1900s and what's happening today, all right? So in the early 1900s, people's teeth rotting out, dentists just pulling teeth. Well, guess what? Right about that time, Dr. Miller, Willoughby Miller, he was a dentist and a medical doctor, and he discovered the cause of tooth decay. He discovered the cause of tooth decay. He discovered that bacteria build up in the teeth, and that a byproduct of that bacteria's digestion was acid. And an acid that was released by that bacteria would degenerate the teeth, and the teeth would rot out, right? So fast forward 10, 15 years, here comes a dentist by the name of Dr. Alfred Phones, who said, look, I'm tired of pulling teeth in my office. There's got to be a way to prevent these people's teeth from degenerating. And so he said, well, look, we know the cause of tooth decay. How can we prevent it? Well, if bacteria cause it, can we step in and can we provide education on how to eliminate that bacteria, or at least reduce that bacteria, and then we could reduce tooth decay. Now, this was not met with open arms. Like, everybody thinks like, oh, wow, you discovered this, and now, it's just going to flourish, and everybody's going to start brushing their teeth and flossing and going to the dentist for teeth cleanings and all these types of things. But that didn't happen. In fact, he was fought by his own profession. Dentists actually fought the fact that he wanted to actually promote dental hygiene. They said, look, why are you trying to mess up a good thing? We're pulling teeth, man. We got people coming in right and left. We're making good money. Don't screw this up for us. Some of them went as far as thinking, well, that's theory. It probably won't even work if you try to keep teeth clean. Others were like, others said that people won't actually take the time to brush their teeth, that people won't invest in teeth cleaning, that people won't invest in their own health and taking care of a body part, right? And so he was fought, boom, boom, boom. In fact, so much so that the University of Ohio School of Dental Medicine, or whatever it was, they started the first dental hygiene class, and dentists in the community shut it down. They shut them down. They wouldn't let them finish the class. They wouldn't let the people get certified in dental hygiene because they said, you're going to screw up our business. We have a big business. We're pulling teeth here. Don't mess with it. I mean, thank goodness that Dr. Phones, the father of dental hygiene now, if you look him up, Phones, Dr. Alfred Phones, he's the father of dental hygiene. He didn't give up, man. He said, no, I believe in this. I believe that dental hygiene will be a household name someday, that people will take care of their teeth, that people will go to dentists for preventative care, for teeth cleaning. And they did, man. They did, because he went on that effort. He got out in our community, started sharing dental hygiene education. He got into schools. You probably remember that. He went to he started a grassroots effort for dentists getting into schools, teaching kids how to take care of their teeth. And now today, look, even in the 50s and 60s, dentures used to be everything. It was fix a dent and forget it, because everybody's teeth were rotting out of their face. But now today, dentures are not even that popular. I mean, some people have to have them later in years, but not like they used to, because dental hygiene became the forefront of dentistry. And guess what it did for dentistry? Not what all those dentists were scared of. It didn't break down the profession. Dentists didn't go away. In fact, it did the opposite. Because of the fact that people became more aware about the health of their teeth, it exploded dentistry. It exploded dentistry into the second largest, actually, the second largest healthcare profession in the world. All because of dental hygiene. So watch this. Let's take an analogy for today's day and age. We just went over the fact that spinal hygiene is at epidemic proportions, mirroring those of the early 1900s when looking at dental hygiene, right? So in today's day and age, with back surgeries happening at younger and younger ages, now people having to go through multiple back surgeries before they get to what we would call an older age. And with spinal degeneration happening at younger and younger ages, there has to be some kind of movement to stop this. And we have to do exactly what dentistry did and ask ourselves, do we know what causes spinal degeneration? Because if we do, if we know what causes spinal degeneration, then we can then figure out how to prevent it, right? Just like dentistry. What causes dental decay? Well, bacteria. How do we prevent that? Brushing, flossing, teeth cleaning at the dentist. So let's ask ourselves, what causes spinal degeneration? I can already tell you two things. Now, look, I know you could go on a rampage of all this stuff that's out of somebody's hand. Like if they get in a car accident, injuries, all these types of things that might not be 100% preventable. Just like cavities aren't 100% preventable. If you might brush and floss and go to the dentist regularly, you might still get a cavity, right? So not everything is 100% preventable, but we do know that the technical causes of spinal degeneration. Number one is Wolff's Law. You learn this in school. Wolff's Law means that calcification lays down in areas of pressure on the bone, okay? So if we have misalignments, if we have abnormal wear, tear, pressures, abnormal ranges of motion, abnormal pulls from muscles, what are all these things? Part of the vertebral subluxation complex, right? If we have all these things that cause Wolff's Law to lay down calcification and then furthermore bone spurs, what is that? That's spinal degeneration. So how can we prevent Wolff's Law? Well, we look at one of the basic concepts of spinal hygiene, which we're about to go into, the three basic concepts of spinal hygiene. The first one is that the spine should be in a certain alignment. The spine should be straight from the front, should have natural curves from the side. When it's out of that proper alignment, it creates stress points along the vertebrae, causing calcifications, causing bone spurring, causing increased development of spinal degeneration. It's just, we know this already. You know this. I don't have to even give you the science behind that, even though there's hundreds of studies out there that confirm that. All right. So then we look at number two. So that was the first concept of spinal hygiene, that the spine should be in a certain alignment. No chiropractor, no medical doctor, no physical therapist can ever refute that the spine should be in a certain alignment. They can't. They could say that there might be a normal range of alignment, but they cannot refute that the spine should be in a normal alignment. Look in any anatomy book in the world, it'll show you the spine from the front and lateral curves from the side. Go to any physician or orthopedic or neurosurgeon and ask them if scoliosis is normal, and none of them will say yes, right? So we know the spine should be in a certain alignment. I mean, that's just a given. Secondly, the second concept in spinal hygiene is that the spine should move through a full range of motion through each plane symmetrically and balanced, right? The spine should move through a full range of motion, balanced and symmetric. Now, excuse me, some other concepts behind this movement of the spine preventing spinal degeneration is the fact that we know if the spine is fixated for longer than, I believe it's 2 weeks, there builds up adhesions in the joint. I mean, we can look at it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be the spine. If you put somebody in a cast, that's the reason why they don't really use casts around joints for long periods of time anymore. If you put them in a cast, what happens over time? It starts to calcify, it starts to break down, it starts to degenerate. If you kept your arm in a cast for a year, when you took it off, you would not be able to move your arm all the way through its range of motion. You would probably have calcifications or at least adhesions built up in there, right? So we know that fixation in a joint causes the beginnings of adhesions, which then those adhesions turn into calcifications, which then turn into spinal degeneration, degenerative disc disease. And even more in the discs, we know that when you go through the age of puberty, hormones cause changes in blood flow, right? And one of the areas that start to receive less blood flow is the discs between each vertebrae. So then what becomes really important to maintain those disc heights is what we call imbibition. Imbibition is moving or pumping, and that pumping creating a pumping effect or a movement of fluid where waste materials can be pumped in. I mean, waste materials can be pumped out, nutrients can be pumped in, waste materials pumped out, and nutrients pumped in, all from this imbibition that should happen in each disc. So when we're having a sedentary lifestyle, this explains why sedentary lifestyles are correlated with increased risk factors for spinal degeneration. Because when you're sitting for long periods of time, are you moving your spine? Are you getting any imbibition to those discs? No. So then it begins to dehydrate, it begins to degenerate. If you're sitting for long periods of time, you have poor posture, you have sedentary lifestyle, we're overweight. I mean, all these things add up, but there are reasons why we're actually causing higher levels and quicker degeneration of our spine, okay? So imbibition, it's not there anymore. So that was the second. The first one was the spine should be in a certain alignment. The second concept of spinal hygiene is that the spine should move through a full range of motion. And then the third concept for spinal hygiene, what we say is that the muscles around the spine should be strong and balanced, right? We know that imbalance in musculature, injury to a muscle. We know that even stress. What's one of the causes of subluxation? Toxins, traumas, and thoughts, or stress. Stress can cause abnormal pulling of muscles that can shift stress points that can cause degeneration as well in the long run. Sorry, hold on. Let me get a drink. That's not whiskey. That's just tea. So, all right. So we went through the three concepts of spinal hygiene. We know that what causes, or at least some causes, of spinal degeneration. So therefore, if we know some of the causes of spinal degeneration, we should be able to, through deductive reasoning, create some exercises and some strategies to actually prevent spinal degeneration. I mean, if dentists could do it, we could do it. That's what they did. They said if bacteria causes decay in the teeth, then let's go through deductive reasoning. What could we do to get rid of that bacteria? Well, they could brush on a daily basis. They could floss on a daily basis. They could go to the dentist periodically to really get a deep cleaning and get that bacteria out of the deep spots, right? It's common sense. So now if we know that lack of imbibition, that fixations, that misalignments cause degeneration in the spine, what through common sense could we do to prevent degeneration of the spine? And it's that easy. And that's why we created the spinal hygiene products, the spinal hygiene exercises, the spinal hygiene strategies to be encompassed around chiropractic and the adjustment of the spine to correct that spinal alignment, to correct that range of motion and that fixation, and to help to influence and maybe even correct that imbalance in musculature, which are all parts of the vertebral subluxation complex. So we don't realize we're correcting subluxation, we're preventing degeneration, right? But then a dentist wouldn't just correct a cavity and then expect them to be the dental decay to be all prevented. No, they would correct the cavity, and then they would teach the patient what to do at home to keep their teeth healthy. So that's what we need to do as chiropractors. So we know how to correct the subluxation. We know we need to correct the spinal alignment, the range of motion, the muscle balance, and all of those factors that go in with correcting subluxations. But then what could we teach that person to do at home on a daily basis to help take care of their spine, just like they brush their teeth and just like they floss? So that's where we get into the science behind the products, okay? Now, first of all, get this. I realize that there could be thousands of exercises that could be beneficial for your spine. Okay, I realize there are thousands of exercises already that are beneficial for your spine. If you go for a jog, I mean, that's probably beneficial to your spine in some way. If you do yoga, I'm sure you got some stretching. I'm sure there's some stretches you could tell me to do right now that would probably be beneficial for my spine. But I don't care what exercises are just beneficial. There's some things that are beneficial for your teeth. If you eat an apple, that's been shown to kind of help, you bite it, you kind of cleans your teeth off a little bit or whatever. It's good. It's a healthy food. If you eat greens and fruits and vegetables, you're going to have less cavities. Those are all great. But it's not brushing your teeth, because we need something that's very efficient and easy to do for that person, right? If I said, if you want to prevent cavities, just eat green leafy vegetables every day. Don't eat anything else. You could do that. You might not even have to brush your teeth. If all you did was eat green leafy vegetables, you never ate anything else, never drank any sugar, never did anything, you might be able to prevent cavities. But is that like doable for everyone? No, that's why dentists don't teach people that, because we have to find something that's simple, easy, efficient, and doable so that somebody can implement on their daily basis to help get the most prevention out of the least amount of effort. Okay? So that's when we came up with our spinal hygiene products. And if you look down below, you may have already done this, but below the video, you'll see the 2 links, spinal hygiene report. Click on that. You'll download it. You can save it, read it later. But the other link is spinal hygiene products, and I'll take you right to the page. And I'm going to actually share my screen. Excuse me. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to share with you the products and why we do each one, okay, and why they're the most efficient ways to implement spinal hygiene. Now, let me go ahead and refresh the screen, see if there are any questions or comments yet. No, we've got a few people on. By the way, I'm in Houston, Texas, so there's a big hurricane coming tomorrow. It's going to be nice and fun. It's a Category 3 hurricane, so I'm glad I'm doing this tonight while I still have the internet and everything else. They say it's supposed to be a pretty intense storm, and we're supposed to get 20 to 30 inches of rain. So that could be a big flooder right there. Okay, let me share my screen. I want to show you some of these products and show you the science behind each product. And I'll also show why we recommend this product and why not a different product that might be similar to it, okay? All right, so share my screen. Okay. All right, there's that one. Let's go ahead. Let's start with the spinal molding roll. I like this, okay? Okay, so you should be seeing on your screen a spinal molding roll. I know there are a lot of companies, I mean, and there are even physical therapists that use rolls. This one is specifically designed to get the best mold of the spine, and to put it underneath the curve of the neck, the curve of the low back. Now, I understand that you might use some other type of traction unit for correction, okay? This is not necessarily for correction. This is for hygiene. And I say that specifically. It's important that you understand what correction is and what hygiene is. Those are 2 different things. Correction is where you're prescribing something. It has to be prescribed, because if they put it in the wrong spot, if they do something wrong, you're just going to mess it up, right? So hygiene has to be something that is fairly general, that they could do at home, that is not going to really screw anything up if they put it in a wrong spot, okay? So for example, if the toothbrush had to be prescribed by a dentist, and you had to use your specific type of toothbrush, and every time that your toothbrush wore out, you had to go back to the dentist, get another prescription for your specific toothbrush, nobody would even do that, or at least it would be much harder for people to take care of their spine, right? If you had to be prescribed your floss and prescribed your toothbrush, and if you screw it up, it's going to mess you up. I mean, it would just be a headache for us to try to keep track of those types of things. So if you go to the dentist, though, and you do have a problem, they might prescribe something for you. I'm saying, like, it's different because its prescriptions are corrective. Like, when you prescribe a traction unit, it's corrective. For these cervical rows, these are hygienic, meaning you should already have curves in your neck and your lower back. The problem is we're tractioning them the wrong way all day long during our daily activities, looking at a computer, looking at a cell phone, sitting, and you're doing you're losing them if you all you do is those types of activities every day. So I'm saying if at night before you go to sleep, just like you brush your teeth, if we could simply lay on these spinal molding rolls for 5 to 20 minutes, and I use that kind of a broad spectrum of time because people might start with 5 minutes and build up to 20 minutes. But by the end of the day, your discs are at their loosest. Okay, so let's get into a little bit more of the science behind why this exercise is important and why it could help you maintain lateral curves, which is the first concept of spinal hygiene, spinal alignment. And this could help your patients maintain the lateral curves between chiropractic adjustments because the discs are made up of a gel material. We all know this. The gel material can go from a hydrogel state to a hydrosol state. That means it could go from a solid to a liquid, right? And maybe not completely solid, but more of a solid gel to more of a liquid type gel, right? So higher viscosity, lower viscosity. That's what I'm talking about here. Now, it does that when it's warmed up, when you're moving, when it's been used. That's why you feel the loosest after you exercise. If you go to the gym, you lift weights, you go for a run, man, you feel the loosest after an activity. If you play a game of soccer or basketball, you're done, you're loose, you're moving, those discs are warmed up, the gel material's warmed up. Now, the opposite is true when you are sedentary. When you sit for a long period of time, that gel material hardens, it tightens up. It's the reason why when you sleep at night and you're sleeping in relatively one spot, that gel material tightens, and when you wake up in the morning, you're stiffer. And then, same thing on a long car ride. We're sitting in a long car ride for a long time. You're in one spot, that gel material tightens, and you get out of the car and you're like really stiff because that gel material is tightened. So we use that property of the disc to promote better molding of the spine. So throughout your day, you're moving, you're a little bit more active. So by the end of your day, your discs should be loosened up, and you should be at your loosest probably at the end of the day. Now, a lot of people will tell you they agree. Like in the mornings when they wake up, they're super tight. In the evenings when they get home, they're pretty loose. Okay, that means that gel material is at a fairly hydrosol state. Now, when that gel material is at its loosest, that's when we want to do spinal molding. That's when you want to actually push the mold of those curves by laying on those rolls. And then you want to lay on them for about 20 minutes and let that gel harden around those spinal molding rolls. So you literally are molding the spine when you go to sleep. Isn't that cool? And if somebody's doing that on a daily basis, then it becomes life-changing. Now, I tell people it's just like brushing your teeth. If you do it once, it doesn't make a crap bit of difference. Like if all you do is brush your teeth one time in your life, do you think that is going to make any difference at all? No. In fact, if all you do is brush your teeth one time a month, do you think that's going to make any difference at all? No, not at all. But what if you do it on a daily basis? Then it begins to become life-changing. Yeah, brushing your teeth is life-changing because you do it on a daily basis. I think I heard a comment. I have my volume on, so if somebody places a comment or a question, I can hear it, and then we can look back to see if there's anybody. Oh, no, wasn't. Okay. So these spinal molding rolls are highly important for helping your patients maintain spinal alignment between chiropractic visits. Now let's look at the wobble disc. Now, first of all, our wobble discs are different than the average wobble disc that you're going to see inside most chiropractic offices and inside most gyms, because most wobble discs were created for you to stand on. That's what in the gym, that's what they're for. You're supposed to stand on them and like improve your balance, stand on them with one leg, whatever the exercise is. Like they're created to be strong, hard, and they do wobble a little bit, but most of them are created to be really hard. These discs here are modeled not after a wobble disc, but they're modeled after an exercise ball. Okay, so the exercise ball is more fluid, it's more giving, it bends, you can get better wobbling on it. These discs are soft, and it's hard to see from this picture, but if you were to sit on that disc, you'll notice, you'll be like, oh my gosh, this thing wobbles like an exercise ball. That's because we want to get the most imbibition possible in your lower spine. Now let me go back. I'm gonna go back now. What are the two most degenerative discs in the entire body? For those of you docs that take x-rays, you're going to tell me C5 and L5. C5 and L5 are the two most degenerative discs in the entire body, in anybody's body. 80, 90, almost 100% of the time, those two discs would be the ones that got the brunt of the deal, okay? What are we doing when we do spinal molding for the curve and we do wobble disc for the lower back? We're working on those discs that are most degenerated. And so when we get pumping and motion and inhibition in that L5 disc from sitting on these wobble discs on a daily basis, you're actually getting the most inhibition in that L5 and getting fluid to move in and out of that disc and helping to keep it from degenerating because you're keeping it moving. You're also strengthening core muscles around, and it's very, very efficient, and it's also very easy. Excuse me. It's super easy for somebody to take this with them, especially if they're sedentary, they sit for long periods of time, or even if they're in front of their computer. They can take it with them to their office, they can sit in it, and they can do their wobble disc exercises on a daily basis and promote not only core strengthening, but also inhibition with pumping of the discs, okay? Let's see. The other things that are in the kit, by the way, the kit comes, this is what the kit looks like. Okay, and if you've clicked on that link below, you'll kind of see this, the spinal molding rolls, the bag that it comes with, the disc. We're going to explain this resistance band here in just a second, and then there's the instruction sheets. Excuse me, and you can scroll down to see all the costs for it. If you don't have to buy just the kits, you can buy just the products and whatever. A lot of chiropractic offices are using this already because not only does it help you to get better outcomes. I apologize for this frog in my throat. And because people are beginning to get educated, it handles your patient education. It gets you better results because your patients are actually doing their exercises at home. It helps them become more aware of their spine. So then it builds retention in your office. And on top of it all, you can buy them and sell them at more than double the price that you bought them for. So it actually ends up being an extra income for you in your office. So, I mean, there's really no downside to these products. But let me keep going. What's the most degenerative posture in the world? Forward head posture. That's why we put the resistance bands in the kits, because we chose them because that's the most prevalent degenerative posture. And so we want to be the most efficient with our exercises. Like I told you, they could go ride a bike or they could go for a jog and they're helping their spine in some manner, but we want to be more efficient and we want to get better results and have them doing it for less time and very, very simple strategies. So nothing easier than putting a strap on the back of your head and actually doing strengthening exercises to prevent head forward posture, that type of degenerative posture. The Home Spinal Care book actually comes with each kit, and you guys really should check out that book. You can actually get a free copy of the book if you go to homespinalcare.com. You just have to pay for shipping, and I'll send you a copy of that book at homespinalcare.com. But each kit actually comes with the book as well, and then the exercise sheet. And let me show you the exercise sheet, and it'll help me explain the last exercise that we talk about. So the exercise sheet shows all the exercises, and each one of these kits comes with the exercise sheet. So we talked about spinal molding. We talked about the wobble disc exercise. We talked about the TheraBand exercise. And now the last exercise that is in the spinal hygiene instructions is what I call the ROM stretch, or the range of motion stretches. Okay. And this is because we talk about how lack of range of motion causes an increased risk for spinal degeneration. And this is accepted all across the board. I mean, physical therapists are even the ones that are bigger than even chiropractors on range of motion. Like, physical therapists will measure range of motion every single time. But chiropractors, if you are a chiropractor who takes x-rays, do you know, like, if your patient comes in with no symptoms at all, has no problems, no issues, no symptoms, but you can find decreased range of motion, then that's a red flag. You can take x-rays, right? So, I mean, range of motion is important across all the healthcare professions, but we know lack of range of motion actually promotes degeneration of the spine. So the problem is, a lot of people never take their spine through a full range of motion in their entire life. Okay. Now, at least in years, like a lot of your patients don't exercise. They don't go to the gym. They probably don't even go for walks, right? So that person who sits there all day in front of a computer and does nothing, then goes home, sits on the couch, and then goes to bed, and then does the same thing the next day. They come into your office with all these back pain, all these issues. Of course, they're going to have decreased range of motion. They haven't taken their spine through its full range of motion in years. So you find degeneration or you find decreased range of motion, you take x-rays, you find subluxation. Your job is to help correct that alignment and correct that range of motion, correct that subluxation, but then we want them to be able to keep it. We want them to be able to keep that full range of motion. So we're going to give them an exercise that's simple, that be done every morning. Because why? Because that's when your spine's at its tightest, because your discs are at a more rigid hydrogel state. And in the morning when they get up, they take their spine through 3 planes of motion, and they hold their stretch at the end of each plane. So I'm going to explain, or you can see the image right there, forward and back, side to side, and rotation, but let me kind of explain it by getting out of here and exiting the screen capture here. All right, so the spine should move in 3 planes of motion. We know this. Forward and back is 1 plane of motion. The second plane of motion is lateral bending, side to side. That's the second plane of motion. The third plane of motion is rotation in both directions. Okay, so the neck moves like that, the low back moves like that, the spine basically moves like that. So a great exercise to give patients to do as a spinal hygiene exercise is range of motion stretches every morning. They bend like they're going to touch their toes, hold for 10 seconds. That's the end of the range of motion. Then they extend their head back and lean back as far as they can to the end range of that plane and hold for 10 seconds. That's the first plane. Second plane is to the left. They laterally bend, hold for 10 seconds. Laterally bend to the opposite direction, hold for 10 seconds. Rotate, hold for 10 seconds. Rotate to the other direction, hold for 10 seconds. It literally takes a minute for them to do. How long does brushing your teeth take? Minute, 2 minutes. So it's exactly the same, not exactly, but it's very close to the same and similar. And so if they take their spine to the end range of motion in each plane, hold for 10 seconds, it takes 60 seconds to do every morning. Now, if it's somebody who's really having a sedentary lifestyle, sitting in front of a computer, they need to get up and do that like every 30 minutes or every hour, take their spine through that full range of motion. But that's easy enough to do. So that's what I call the science behind spinal hygiene. I know it's a lot. I know it's probably kind of boring, unless you're very analytical and into it like I am. But I hope you guys got, some out of that. And I hope you realize that spinal hygiene it's the next big thing. I mean, it's going to blow up. And I feel like if we as chiropractors could grasp this and own this, then we could be the experts that bring this to the world, that help fight the devastating effects of this crazy, crazy epidemic called spinal degeneration that's going on, that's affecting 96% of 80-year-olds, 85% of 50-year-olds, 37% of 20-year-olds, 9% of 10-year-olds. Basically, it's becoming more and more prevalent across our country because we're living more and more sedentary lifestyles. If somebody doesn't do something about this, if chiropractors don't do something about this, another profession will. If nobody does anything about this, like literally our kids are doomed. Like our next generation, it's not going to get better. Do you think that the spine is actually going to stop getting worse, stop degenerating? Not unless we're moving it, not unless we're maintaining alignment, not unless we're activating the muscles around it, not unless we're correcting subluxation. So the only way for us to prevent spinal degeneration, which, look, I'm not even talking about like all the huge health benefits of correcting subluxation, like taking pressure off the nerve and allowing life to flow through the nerves and get back to the bodies and having miracle testimonies from patients from correcting subluxation. I'm just talking about spinal degeneration. I'm just talking about taking care of the spine at its most basic concept, that if you don't take care of something, it degenerates. If you don't take care of your car, it will break down. If you don't take care of your house, it will crumble. If you don't exercise your body, you will lose your muscles. You will gain fat. It will break down. It will degenerate. If you don't take care of your teeth, if you don't brush, they will degenerate. And if you don't take care of your spine, it will degenerate. No questions about it. There's no other explanation. It's just that everybody in our society they're going through life without ever even thinking about taking care of their spine and nervous system. So anyway, I could talk for a lot longer on this, but I won't. It's been about 45 minutes, and it's Thursday night, and I've got to go pack and get ready for a hurricane coming into the Houston area in the morning. So again, check out those links below. I'm going to leave this webinar, this training up for a little while, and I definitely want you to download the Spinal Hygiene report. I think you'll really enjoy that read, and I think it'll, more like specifically explain and say some of the things I've already said in this training, and it'll also show you a lot of the references that I use with some of the things I've commented about in this training. And then below that, you'll see the link for our products. There's already dozens of chiropractic offices that are using these. I want to encourage you to start using these in your offices as well. And if you have any questions about the specific pricing, what we do now is we build this into each care plan. So when a patient starts care in my office, the kits are built into the care plan. We now charge $117 per kit. We were charging $97, but now it's $117. And you have to realize that not only can they not get any of these specific exercise products somewhere else. Look, I said specific. Like, yeah, they might be able to get a wobble disc somewhere else, but not one that is actually designed to get that much imbibition in the spine. One that's designed after an exercise ball, not a wobble disc. It's designed for sitting, not for standing on. The spinal molding rolls, you might be able to get a roll, but not one that's 7.7 centimeters, designed to fit exactly in the curvature in through those curves. And it's very firm. It's soft, but it's also the outside is soft, but it's also very firm, so you mold over it. I've seen other foam rolls that are used in our professions, and they just give. They just they look like my kids' bath toys that just like scrunch, right? This is firm and spinal molding. Even the TheraBands, the book, the exercise sheet, you just can't get this type of patient education with other products. Plus, it comes with you. It comes with your expertise and your guidance and your support. So that's why I charge $117 for this kit in my office, because my staff is going to show you how to use it, right? If you have a question, you come back in, my staff and myself will help you to make sure you're using these products right. Try buying a product on Amazon and getting that type of support. You can't do it. In fact, a lot of docs will actually charge, if you have insurance, you charge for the education of how to use the home care exercises. So my $117 for my kit, that's built into that. I'm just telling you, it could be another income stream for you, and that these are the best products out there, and that they're great for patient education, building awareness of taking care of their spine, and promoting spinal hygiene to the world, because I think this is the next big thing. So what we've got to do, we've got to join together, and we've got to create this massive movement that will make spinal hygiene a household name, just like the toothbrush and just like dental hygiene. So thanks so much for being on the call. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, drtabor@live.com. Reply to any of my emails. I should get your reply, or find me on Facebook, Tabor Smith, or Spinal Hygiene Doctor, facebook.com/Spinal Hygiene Doctor. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for being on and sticking through this very straightforward, strict training. This wasn't some crazy sales webinar where I had all this cool stuff and these cool gifts and these cool PowerPoints. This was me sharing my passion with you, sharing science, the science of spinal hygiene, and it's important. I believe it's highly, highly important. So thanks so much for letting me share my passion with you. Have a great night. All right. I know I'm still on, guys. I just wanted to make sure there wasn't any questions before I got off here. All right, but I must have closed that. Okay, so see you guys. Have a great night.